in for some.
I'll sign it in a minute.
Okay.
You can bring it up. So this is kind of what we're going to talk about as far as training and stuff goes a little bit different than we had originally had planned. Lance usually does a talk about the knowing the importance of your why in business and what that focus in. And it's his why is why he's not here today, which is his family, more so his grandkids. So he's at UNI doing some track stuff. And then I talk about my part of it, and then Michelle takes over, is just business planning, the importance of tracking, getting into the details of the numbers, because all the other stuff doesn't matter if you don't know what your numbers need to be based on what your why is. But I wanted to start with, I'm going to change it a little bit because this is something I've been talking about with the staff and the others here recently, and that is business planning, but from a different perspective. Everybody, when they talk about business planning, they think about where to get it from. I'm talking about the nuts and bolts of it, understanding what you have to do for taxes, understanding the difference of an LLC and an S corp and things like that. What's interesting to me is, and just by chance based on my background, I've had way too many conversations with people who've been in the business many, many years and have nothing to show for it. There's IRS debt, there's liens, there's past due payments, because they get in, all of a sudden they get this chunk of money coming in from commissions, but they don't know that that's not all their money. And that is alarming to me. It's not a local problem, it's not a state problem, it's a nationwide problem. So I wanted to touch on that a little bit before we get into this other stuff, because we are going to, and we're trying to coordinate it and make it an actual DMAR thing, but beyond that, Iowa Association of Realtors thing. I always just share mine as the cautionary tale, because I always say I'm a wealth of what not to do. When I started in 2009, I had $100,000 in IRS debt. And I still, to this day, and it'll go off in 2 weeks, I've had an IRS lien against me, a federal one, for 10 years. And it'll go off in 2 weeks, because it's been 10 years. Lance keeps trying to call me.
Oh.
So, and I share that because I haven't been in it that long, but I've been able to get out of it. Most people with these types of things kind of just bog them down and overwhelm them. We're talking about IRS debt. Overwhelm them to the point that maybe they can't breathe. My thing to that is, it's just a number. It's something that can be worked through. It's not the end of the world. So we don't have an IRS person here. We don't have a CPA here. We don't have an attorney here. So I'm none of those things, nor am I going to get into the nuts and bolts of this. But it is super important, especially for those who are just getting started, to know you're starting off on the right foot. So I do encourage to ask questions on this stuff because, again, I've lived through a lot in 10 years when it comes to this crap. Because beyond that, I was 1.5 million in debt. So, right? So, on that note, I'm going to talk primarily about the importance of the numbers and tracking. And I'll log in here in a minute. It doesn't matter what you track on, but we have a program that we provide to concepts agents called CTE, stands for Commitment to Excellence. The back-end tracking system. Now, I personally utilize, because of prior businesses and other businesses, a combination of this for the real estate side, but from an expense side, I use QuickBooks. This has expense tracking in it already, though, so if you don't have anything, it'd be very beneficial to just use this for everything. So, the importance of why we want to do this. So, oh yeah, okay, I'm still. So we talked a minute ago about knowing what you want to accomplish income-wise. This platform that I'm getting ready to log into here, is that your mouse?
Yeah, well, it's both of our mouths.
Okay, that weirded me out.
I know.
You plug in your goals in here, and it'll tell you down to the day what you need to do for activities. And success in real estate is the little activities that you do every day. That's what separates those who succeed and those who don't. So now, give me a minute here.
I couldn't find the login.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna do something real quick. I'm gonna send you my link.
Okay.
And we'll go in through there because I forgot my password the other day. And I had to have it sent to me. Give me 1 second. Okay, Michelle.
Did you say this is available to all concepts?
Yeah. Yeah, if you're interested, you shoot me an email and I'll have it set up. It'll send you a link to set up your account. Okay, let's see if I can do this on the first try.
Why do you have 2 emails?
What?
You have 2 emails.
Yeah, but they both go to the same location. Oh, look at that.
It's
So-
a good day.
I primarily give people the Remax one because spellingrealestateconcepts.net is not as easy to remember. That's awesome. I usually never remember my password that quick. So we can set it up as a team platform and or an individual platform. So my suggestion is, even if you're just getting started and you eventually maybe someday want to have a team, that we do it as a team platform.
I'm gonna steal your mouse for just a minute.
Okay.
I'm gonna give them the present so they can see it.
The what? Oh,
The
in
presentation. So they can see
Cedar
what-
Rapids.
Yep, so they can see what you've got.
Is that map there too now?
From here, that looked like a deposition.
No, that's
I know,
Noah.
right? It's what?
It's Noah.
Oh, okay. All right, so this is my team's live dashboard. So what happens is, and you're early enough in the year, it wouldn't, you want to retroactive it back to January 1st. So it wouldn't be that hard to go in and put this in. And if you give them an Excel spreadsheet, they'll do it for you. So what happens is you go in here and you complete your business plan and you plug in all your information. Again, you need to know what you want to accomplish for your GCI. And the way I've tell people to determine that is, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to go on trips? Do you want to save? Do you want to buy a car? What do you want to do with it? Figure that out. And then how much money it's going to cost. Therefore, you can figure out your GCI. So then once you plug that in, you then have your percentage of listings to buyers, your average sell price. If you're newer and you don't have one, just use the DMR average. It's low to it's like right now, like right around 2. And then over there, you just, if you're an individual, your splits are going to be right up here where it says lead agent. And what happens is, it tells you right here how many listings you have to sell, how many buyers you have to sell, how many appointments it's going to take you to convert that, all the way down to what you need to be doing daily. So we'll use Andrew here. He's the top one on the team. He has to make 300 or 32 contacts a day to hit his goals. And then so on. So it's all about what you want to accomplish, and it'll tell you what to do. So then the important part becomes the tracking. You have to track. If you don't track it, it doesn't matter. There is a link right here that everybody gets at the top. It's not populating right now, so but it will. Oh, there it is. Right here. So then you go in, and with that link, you save it to your phone. You then go in daily with these categories across the top, and you track what you do daily. And then it filters into here, right? So that it'll tell you if you're on pace to hit your goals or not. go back to the dashboard. As you go across the top, you see all these different categories here, right? So as you plug in, you start plugging in your expenses and things like that, it will start to tell you what the best use of your time is and where you should be spending your money as far as marketing goes. It was this program that helped cause us to get rid of Zillow over 4 years ago, and up Facebook, because of once we started tracking what our ROI was on these things. And so we've been using it for 4+ years now. So then you go into here. Nope, that's not the one I wanted. I'm sorry. Right here, lead source. It tells you, if you plug in all your expenses, how many you've closed, in what category, what your ROI is on what you've spent, and literally has, you can add categories as you add business if it's not in. And then you can literally, with one click this financial statement and tell you where you are for the year. It does take a little time to set up front. I went to start to build a platform like this myself, and it took a lot of time and a lot of money, and I, by chance, watched a webinar and heard a guy talk about this, and went and looked at it, and like, this is a no-brainer, and I stopped building that platform and did this. So every year, at the end of the year, December 31st, any pending and active business, he will then move over to the new platform because it's built on Microsoft. So you can put in current buyers you're working with, you can put in coming listings so you can see what kind of production you might have coming. It literally keeps track of everything. I'm trying to think of any other ones that are beneficial on this. Those are the main ones.
Is it linked with any of the CRMs?
No. So depending on what you're doing with your CRM, because it can be used as a CRM, because if you go into My Business, all the contacts are in here. And then you can get very detailed as to, you know, literally, there's a ton of detail. But if you're going to use, and I suggest most do, your CRM for lead generation and things like that, it's best to keep them separated. So what tends to happen is they get a new buyer or a new listing that gets turned in, and then someone inputs it. When you're getting started, you would input it. It's just an extra step to add to your list. At some point, I could see him at putting on a separate platform and linking it to a CRM, but he literally updates it and adds different features throughout the year and at the beginning of every season when it starts. So it's been a game changer. Like I said, it was when we started tracking using this that, you know, we realized that the first year that was really good Facebook, there was a 652% return on Facebook leads and ads. So we upped Facebook and got rid of Google. So we utilize this a lot to determine where to spend money.
But this is free.
It is, yes. Yeah, we provide it as a feature of Concepts. So like I said, if you want it, you send me an email, and then you just get an email. You'll get an email with to set up your login info. So,
is there an app like for your phone?
Yeah, well, it's not an app, so I'll go back to it. So there's this link here on everybody's platform. You actually would take it and save it to your desktop as an app, but it's just a link that takes you to it. So I'll show you what it looks like. If you truly use it, I promise it'll help you scale your business. Because of the details, you know, if you look at it tells you per day, you know, how many contacts you need to make. Everybody's definition of contacts is different in what they do based on their business model. That could be networking events, that could be Facebook messages, that could be bumping into someone at a grocery store, it's different. I had one person ask me, well, if I share this on Facebook, does that count? No, that does not count. Or if you like someone's comment, or that does not count. You got to actually engage. So this is what it looks like. So you go here, they choose their name, put in the date, and then start filling in all the categories. And so, like as an example, buyer appointments, right? That's important. But number of showings. Why would you want to track number of showings? If you take a buyer out, on average, you're showing them 15 to 20 houses a piece. You need to hone in on the skills on how to help narrow those down and help them self-eliminate things ahead of time. That way, you're spending your time more wisely and valuable. So they added that last year. Again, open houses are cool. They track that. And then here are the different categories. And again, if there's not a category there, you can add a category. Customize it. And then it's, like I said, it submits, and then it filters into this page. But stepping back to where Lance normally goes first, you got to know why and how much you need to make or want to make to help figure out what you need to do. Any questions on that? No? Well, should I go over?
Some good basics on what they need to look at as far as what they need to plan for.
Yep. Okay, so I know there's experience in the room, but there's some newer in the room.
It's always a good reminder.
It is a good reminder. Really got to determine what your model is going to be and figure out from there where to go. Everything that we suggest to do revolves around systems. And so once you figure this out, you got to figure out how you're going to get it. With that, then step back and put systems into place to do so. So that once you get it set up, it's always there. You might tweak it every now and then, but it's there. You don't have to change it again. So whether it's listings, and by systems, I mean checklists, marketing, basically it's on autopilot. Whether you're doing it on your own or you utilize a service or our Concepts Cares, doesn't matter. You just have to have that in place. An example that I like to use is the postcards that have been done for years. Back when we first started, I printed them out on 4x8 sheet. I cut them myself, and I made my toddlers put the stamps on them. So the same postcards used today. The only difference is the photos changed and a little bit of the verbiage changed. It's been the same postcard for 10 years. Someone else does it now, but it's the same process.
So the same people?
What's that?
The same people?
No. Well, in some cases, yes, but for the most part, no.
How do you determine who you're sending them?
If you're looking for a specific house in a certain area, send out, buyers looking type postcard. Could be a just sold this listing type card. It really depends. It changes. But it's the same, for the most part, the same verbiage. Did you have a question? You thought you were going to say something.
No.
Okay.
Do you send just listeds out a lot? Do you feel like your return is good on that?
Yes and yes. And I'll tell you why. So there are services, including our own, that it's synced with the MLS, and you get a listing and postcards automatically go out. I currently still use, because I haven't changed yet, MLS mailers. Can I quantify an exact dollar amount every year? No. But it keeps you in front of the public. It keeps you in front of the neighbors. So what tends to happen is, as you send these postcards out, and say you're out there doing open houses or whatever, they see your signage over everybody else's compared to what their agent or old agent does not do. So, and this is why I will always do this. So probably 6 or 7 years ago, we took a listing based on a Facebook ad in Grimes. Sent out to Just Listed postcard. Sold in the week. So then Just Sold went out. Got another one around the corner. Same thing. Got another one around the block. Same thing. So there was like,
So they just call off your postcard.
Because we just sold it so fast.
How big was your area? that you sent it?
Only 100.
Okay.
So I'm cheap. I try different things and we do spend a good amount of money, but when it comes to stuff like that, I'm cheap. So in most scenarios, when you use a program like that, you can choose 100 or 250 or 5. I've only ever done 100. So it's the 100 closest addresses.
So then what is your follow-up after that? You send your, I mean, I know you get your just listed, your pending, and then your sold, so you've got 3 there. Do you follow up after that in that same area?
Probably not as much as we should, to be honest. I think there might be missed opportunity there. I think, and that's actually where I could talk about the app again, because we talked about it last week, but it's hard to follow up on stuff like that. You know, they have programs like, what's the one? Smart Zip. They have Smart Zip where it kind of predicts who might move and things like that. That is so expensive, and I really don't think it's worth it. But now, so just a few weeks ago, and it'll be out to everybody next week, I think.
Yeah, the 15th.
Remax bought a technology company called First.io, and it syncs with your personal contacts, and it will literally track them in their cyber avatar and determine whether they're going to be looking to do something in the next 12 months or not based on their online activities. So whether they're looking at certain websites or they're shopping for furniture or whatever. I call it creepy cool. And so that is, in my opinion, going to be a game changer when following up with like these types of because I think it's hard when you just send out a random email to follow up with that. Or not email, I'm sorry, postcard. The app, and I was just talking to someone on the way here about this, because I bought the full year of it when I was in Vegas just to beta test it. And I will show you, and people online won't be able to see this. But so what it ends up doing is it syncs all social platforms, your personal emails, your phone numbers, everything. So I have over 20,000 contacts in mine, and it narrows it down, and it just jumped from 3,600 to 4,000 in the last 2 days of people who might be looking to do something in the next 12 months. This is I think the important part is, I don't know if you can see this or not, it says deals won or deals missed. Deals won does not matter in my opinion. It's the deals missed that matters. That's jumped from 3 million to 3.6 million in 1 week. So 11 listings to 23 listings. So what that means is 23 people have listed with someone else in the last 3 weeks from my database.
Are you able to put those into different categories? As
Yes.
far as like how well you know the people?
Not necessarily how well you know them. It gives you, so I'll go in here and I'll tell you, I'll click on one and tell you what it says. So you click on it, and once you open it up, it gives you categories. It says active client, past client, a refer, or a vendor. And there's actually a button at the bottom that says you can mark it as an agent so that they're not being contacted. But then when you click contact, whatever way you're connected with them is what it gives you the options to connect. So you have call, text, email. They're in the database for a reason. They either clicked on an ad or they're a prior client. The one I looked at, just as a test, I personally spoke to in 2012. They've been on drip since, but not ever responded. If you have an app like this telling you that they're actually looking and you reach out when this alerts you, they may not be ready right then, but it's going to prompt them to think about it. So again, creepy cool, but like I just looked at it today, it jumped 400 people in the last 2 days. So even if you get a percentage of that, it's just a small percentage. That's like makes or breaks a whole year. So that something like this would help follow up with the postcards. The main thing, whether it's postcards or anything, is consistency. I'll use the postcards as an example. So we've used Referral Squirrel since the day it came out. We were the second person ever. We still did. I've always done the digital version. I stopped doing the mailed version for about a year and tried Smart Zip instead, which cost a ridiculous amount of money and literally zero business. And I saw our market share drop by not doing the referral score compared to the other. So consistency is key. From the time that it started to the time we actually started to notice traction was 18 months. So it's not going to happen overnight. If it does, congratulations, but it typically will not.
When you say traction, what do you mean by traction? I mean, what do you, people responding back to you?
We within 18 months, we were involved either on buy side or sell side of traditional business over 95% of the transactions in that local market. So I could literally, and by that, is it just from the postcards? No. But what tends to happen is people just look at farming and they think mailers. That's not true. I look at farming as being involved in your community. So it's mailers, it's supporting your boosters, it's supporting local teams, it's becoming actively involved in your chamber or Kiwanis or something. You can't just join a committee and hope to get business. You actually have to be involved. So we did all that. Back then, we were still just getting started. I had very little money to spend coming out of Chapter 7. So I just got involved. That's all I could do to be out front of people. So for $150 a year, I joined the chamber, and then I started connecting that way. Then you start with the mailers. You start getting stopped. Hey, thanks for the postcard and free ice cream. I don't ever remember that we even sent it out. I'm like, yeah, awesome, cool. Glad you liked it. That's what I mean by traction. So it's 1 year I stopped and did the Smart Zip. It dropped a lot. And regretted not, because Smart Zip costs like $8,000 for the year. I think Referral Squirrel is like a couple grand.
What is Referrals?
So Referral Squirrel is a platform. You give them a database, and they send out a postcard every month, digital and or print. And this month, as an example, was a free scoop of ice cream from Outside Scoop in Ankeny and or Indianola. It's something of value every month. So it could be, half off at Brenton Skating Plaza or something. So you're giving them something of value, but not beating them overhead that you're a real estate agent, you need business. This is a pure fluke because this was not the way when it started, but actually owns it. He's the third owner. There was someone else back then, and they do have a promo code for Concepts agents. It's very, very inexpensive. And I have them do the digital and I have them mail it. The mailers range depending on how many go out, because I have the area divided up into 4 areas. It could be $250 to $450 a month for the mailers based on how big the list is. So,
Do you think it's better to mail or digital? Because I was doing Referral Squirrel.
Huh?
I was doing Referral
I think you got
Squirrel.
to I think you got to do a combination of both. But so in your market is much bigger than my market, right? So I would hone in on a specific area. So when the way it was created was to build a follow-up with your database. I didn't have a database. I was coming out of Chapter 7. No one wanted to talk to me. So I divided that particular market up into 4 areas. And I actually, back then, went to the assessor's site and just imported everything into a spreadsheet. So I was mailing to the entire community. But because I had limited resources, I was doing a different section every month instead of the whole town. So I was very selective in how much I was spending every month. And to this day, they update that because people move into town, people move out of town. They update that list every month.
Who updates it?
My staff now.
Oh, okay.
Back then, I did it myself.
Yeah.
Because you can export it from the the assessor side into a spreadsheet. So I think you have to do a combination of both, but you have to be super intentional what you're doing with it. To mail to an area that you're never seen makes no sense.
Right.
So you want to do it in areas you're going to be seen.
What's a good way to get email addresses?
What's that?
What's a good way to get email addresses to do it digitally if you don't have?
So that's, I think, a 2-part answer. One, you obviously have your personal database that you can
Right.
send to.
Right.
And it might start off with just them.
Yeah.
But then as you continue to add business, you do that now. As you get listings, we have our Boost program that collects email addresses from Facebook. You would want to take that list and put them into your database and give it a label of Facebook ad, leads or something like that, and then send it to them. And sure, occasionally you're going to get a reply that says, stop or don't send this. So what?
Yeah.
It's about numbers.
But if you're farming a certain area, there's going to be like 5 email addresses, and you more so have to mail
Yeah, I would. If you're looking at specific areas as far as digital, what I would do is take that graphic that they give you and the verbiage and create a Facebook ad with it and target people in that area. That's going to be your best way to get them. Because who doesn't like a free scoop of ice cream? The key is to stay consistent with it. And to do it and not be seen doesn't make any sense. Same thing with follow-up, like when you're following up with things. Or prior clients for that matter.
So you did that too. Where did you farm?
Polk City. I live in Polk City. I've been there 13 years.
Okay, so you just blew up Polk City when you first started.
I would say when I first started, no. There was another top person in town before I started.
Yeah.
They're irrelevant today. Just being real. But no, we've been consistent. But so much of that is, I think part of it was that, but the other part of it was I joined the chamber, I got on the board, I became president for 2 years. I partook in the Greater Des Moines Partnerships events. I became chair of the Greater Des Moines Partnership Affiliates Council for a year. And in that year, I spoke in front of 200 people, congressmen, senators, CEOs, presidents. For $150 a year, you can't put a price on that. So it's just more so being involved. And what was really eye-opening to me about being involved, and I can end with this and let Michelle take over because she's much smarter than I am. I was coaching my son's soccer team. And one of my friends called me one day. He's like, hey, you got to call this guy. He's been trying to see this house and no one will call him back. I'm like, okay, so I call him. He's like, I met him over there. He's like, you know what? I didn't even know you did real estate. This dude was the head of the soccer organization. I literally emailed with him weekly. But it didn't matter because he didn't need it at the time. He didn't care. So it was at that point, I'm like, your name's got to be seen everywhere. Whether it's branding on your shirt while you're walking through the store or whether you're sponsoring an event. We even now, with our kids being in sports, I went to Dick's or Shields or something like that, bought some lawn chairs, took it to our local printer and put our logo on the back. So while we're sitting at soccer games, our logo is there. I'm at baseball games. I make it a requirement that whatever sponsorship we do is my son's team. I will not give them a check until they agree to that. And most of them will agree. So it's all about being seen. You don't have to, it's subliminal messaging. So whether it's that or a bus bench or whatever, just being seen. Anything else I can talk on or answer? I'll stand in the back because my meeting for one was just canceled. So in case anyone else has questions or.
I would say, will you share a little bit about your schedule, how you get all of this done?
Yeah.
Do you really get up at 4 a.m. in the morning?
Oh, just wait.
What?
Do you really get up at 4 a.m. in the morning?
You want me to text you?
No. I'll be up at half an hour after you, maybe.
Actually, it varies between 3:15 and 4. Yes. Yes. So I was gonna say yeah, I'll just share it because I was gonna show you my schedule, but I don't want to mess up what we're doing online. Yeah. So there's so much of what we've accomplished is about routines and schedules and just being diligent about the little things that I was talking about. Time blocking is huge in my life, and I think it should be in most people's life, because in real estate, it can suck the life out of you if you let it, and you have to be intentional about what's important. So I actually just came from a meeting and I explained to the person I was with, before I got into real estate, my philosophy used to be, yeah, if you go to Google, I can log in. Maybe if I can remember my password. It used to be, without work, there's nothing else. That's a horrible way to live, because I sacrificed relationships with my friends, my family, even my kids. So when I got into real estate, and I still did that the first few years, I thought there had to be a better way. So if anyone has heard me speak before or has read my book, you know that I did 1,000 BPOs in my second year in real estate. Who knows what a BPO is? You do? No? Okay. So BPO stands for broker price opinion. What that means is if someone's behind on their mortgage or in foreclosure, or maybe they just want to refinance and take PMI off. The bank will send out an agent to do a broker price opinion. It's their way of being cheap and not paying an appraiser, right? Because appraisers get a few $100. We get 50 if we're lucky. So I did 1,000 that second year. You can't do 1,000 BPOs without being systemized. And I learned that very quickly because I was like going from Carlisle to Indianola back to Altoona, and I wasn't intentional about my day. But as I got busier in real estate, I knew that I had to do something different. So I started putting systems into place. So that started with my calendar. This is my calendar. Anyone in my world is connected on my calendar, meaning concept staff, my wife, personal staff, agents, the other 3 partners. We can see each other's calendar or they can see mine. So as an example, Michelle messages me last week and says, hey, we need you for training on Tuesday. She can see that I'm available. And as long as they're all told, as long as I'm available within a 2-hour window, put it in and I'll be there. So they literally tell me where to go. And I don't do this to be micromanaging. I do this because everyone needs to have a life. And if they're off doing something else, I don't want to interrupt them. And vice versa. They know if they contact me on a Sunday morning and it's at 9 o'clock, I'm at church. I'm not going to answer you. So it's the priority. So the way I categorize things and the way that I suggest is personal time, friends, and family first. So what does that look like? You have a date, you put it on there. You want to get your hair done, you put it on there. You want to go to the gym, you put it on there. That is priority. Then you fill it in with those business building things, whether it's networking or messaging or whatever. Then you fill it in with buyers and sellers. Most people get the last 2 twisted, honestly, all 3 twisted, but the last 2 particularly, which is why their business does this. If you do it this way, you can predict your business every year without a mistake. I mean, yes, might be off a little bit, but for the most part. So you ask, do I really get up at that time? This is set this every day. So yes, someday I might stay in bed till 4, but I'm up. But
What time do you go to bed?
it depends. Last night was right before 10. Last Thursday was midnight. I've been stupid before, went to bed at 2 and got up at 3:15. Don't do that. Even went to the gym that day. Don't do that. But it's intentional every day. My gym is on here every day. Do I go to the gym every day? No, but it's usually 3 to 5 days a week. And what happens for me personally is if I happen to miss the gym, I internalize it that day and I won't miss it the next day. So it just eats at me for not doing that because it was there. So I will not let things get in the way. So, and this is the example that I use for this and why it's important, because I do this, I do everything that I do to be able to maximize my time. And I will not compromise the first 2 categories. Probably 7 years ago, we had a building for sale in Madrid, and someone called and was like, I want to see this building. Sorry, I have an appointment. Someone from your group available? Check, no. No one available. The guy got mad, I was like, I'm gonna go to the local guy then. Fine, whatever. He bought it. So the next day, an agent's like, why aren't you mad that you lost out on that? My response was, I didn't lose out on that. I invested in my time. What no one knew was the appointment that I had was my 3-year-old's concert. He only has one 3-year-old concert. I was not going to miss that. So I shared that I sacrificed my family and kids prior to that. When I was still before I even got started in real estate, I was 2 months in, I was actually sitting at a park with my son and daughter, and my daughter was 5, my son was 3. As I sat there, I realized I had never been to a park with him before. That's not right and pretty sad, actually. Then I thought I was doing better, and I was doing this. And so my wife and I were having a disagreement once because I was starting to do better, but I was gone all the time. And I said, I don't understand what your problem is. I'm at all the kid events. And she replies with, yeah, but what about me? that was like a sucker punch, right? So it was at that point, I got super intentional about this. Am I perfect at it? No. But I am pretty good at it, at keeping those 3 categories. So there's the 3 main keys to this are setting up the systems, being seen. We talked about that. Any form or fashion. Again, you don't have to tell people you're in real estate, they'll know. And 3, you treat it like, some people say treat it like a career, or it's not a job, or they'll say treat it like a business. It's a lifestyle. You don't turn it off. You just have to balance it. So treat it with the respect it deserves, but also like you do all these little things, you will have success. The difference between the Des Moines in general, 90+% of the business is done by the top 10% of the agents. Not all of them, but most of them do this type of stuff. I'm not the smartest in the world. I am not the best salesperson in the world. I will just outwork anybody. And by that, I just mean consistency. Good. So yeah, if you guys have
You've got him captive right now.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions on this, or anything I talked about, or you want to just meet one-on-one, I'd be happy to. I promise consistency is life-changing. Cool. Yeah.
So when you say you need to be seen, you don't have to tell them you're in real estate, they'll know.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
My truck has a logo on it. I'm not today, but I have apparel. I talked about the lawn chair.
Yeah.
I go to we sponsor a lot of different stuff. I'm at a baseball event already, even before my kids were old enough to do this stuff. I'm at a baseball event already. Our name is there. Our banner's in the outfield. I'm part of the chamber. I show up to events.
Yeah.
You're just there.
So just make sure it's all over you all the
Yep.
time. If you run into someone at the grocery store, you don't have to bring it up.
No, because they're going to say, hey, how's business? How's the market? Always. That's always what it is. I can walk into the gym in the morning. Hey, you staying busy? There's times where I'm like, it does annoy my wife. I'll get stopped at church or something. They're like, hey, I want to talk to you. I'll just be like, call me Monday. Because that annoys my wife if I stop and talk business at church. As it should. So yeah, that's what I mean by being seen. And I don't know how many people have seen it. And I use this because it's a stupid thing. The bus benches. I have 3 bus benches in town. The one is worth its weight in gold on the south side. The one by Merle Hay, never got any business for whatsoever. But lots of people stop and take photos with it and send them to me. So, yeah.
Where's your other one?
University and 14th by the East Stadium, the Metro Stadium. That one got a photo op just a few weeks ago. 3 people stopped and took a photo with it, and they put it on Facebook and said, just out searches looking at houses with the 3 people and me. It was a picture of the bench, so which is kind of funny. So, yep.
Do you feel like most of your closing, I know it's different for you now, but do you feel like a lot of that came from farming or your sphere? Well, at first.
I didn't have a sphere. It was farming.
Your student did not.
Yep. So it was a 2-part thing. Now it's definitely the bulk of it comes from SOI, as it should for everybody once you hit that 3 to 5 year mark. Back then, when you go through a chapter 7, you probably wouldn't. You get lots of enemies. And at the point when I first got into it, I thought, well, who's going to want to work with me because of this? But then I thought, for every one person in the metro that didn't like me, there's 10,000 that don't know me. So I was out to survive for my family. I didn't care what they thought. So I looked at where I could get business from. I did as many open houses as possible. If agents needed help, I filled in for them. I had to work construction part-time for the first year. My first year in real estate, I think my GCI was like 13 grand or something like that. So not really setting the world on fire. What started to happen is I found something that I wanted to try that really people were scared of. So for me, it was short sales. People didn't know about it. I went to trainings. I'm like, this is great. They're going to tell us what to do. So I embraced it. I put systems into place. And by default, I ended up being on the south side a lot because the south side got hit hard with short sales. It wasn't just there. I short sold $1 million homes also. But what started to happen is, as I got a little bit more money, I would farm Polk City. I don't farm anywhere else, just that little town. It's up to 4,500 people now. Back then it was like 2,800. So what started to happen was in the south side, we got more of an online presence. Signs started to be seen more. Those people that wanted to buy short sales, sometimes they had houses to sell. So we would get those, and then that would snowball. So over time, even though it was focused in primarily 2 areas, it snowballed into other markets. So all these other markets that we've participated in wasn't on purpose. It's because of the online presence and what we were doing and being seen with the signs and the bus benches. And now Facebook will follow you everywhere. So you might see a bus bench and freakishly, you're now being followed on Facebook with one of our ads. So it started with focusing on something. One of the things people used to say was, well, if you don't adjust, you're not going to survive because short sales aren't going anywhere. They didn't realize we're already over here doing this slowly. And then next thing you know, it just exploded. Again, anything I've created is not trend setting. I've probably copied someone else's from the East or West Coast and made it our own. I just had stuck to it, implemented more effectively. Now it is SOI. And I'll explain what I do for follow-up and SOI, because it's not a lot, and you'll be probably shocked when you hear it. There's the referral squirrel stuff that gets mailed out, email. There's monthly birthday cards. We send a $5 bill every month to people for their birthdays that have coffee on us. And then if they're a top tier client, they might get a text message for their anniversary, and then a postcard with a $100 gift card that says "Have lunch on me." And by top tier, I mean there's only like 5 people that qualify for that category. So really, it's the birthday cards.
You must not have had my anniversary date then. No, actually we do, but
so and I've done other things. I went to Full Court Press and said, hey, if I buy X amount of gift cards in bulk, how much of a discount can you give me? So that's to all the restaurants. That got old after a while because not everyone's in Des Moines or Ankeny. I've done Visa gift cards. And so now it's $5 bills. We just switched January 1st to lotto tickets, scratch tickets. Someone just won $50 here recently, and they take a picture of it and they'll tag you in it. So that's my follow-up. It's nothing special. I know people like Matt, for example. He's a machine. He does handwritten letters. He does pop-bys. He delivers pumpkins. You will never catch me delivering a pumpkin, ever. It's just not my thing. So you got to find what's going to work for you and just stick to it. And I did add a Pi Day giveaway a few years ago, but I make them come get them. I don't deliver. Some will deliver. When you're at order too many, and there's like 30, we delivered them to the fire station and gave them to the fire department. And then they thanked us for it. So it should eventually, the goal is to eventually be your SOI. And these other things that we talk about, they add to, they're like cherries on top. But consistency in everything. Any other questions? Said I'll be in the back. People keep calling me, but I'll be in the back if you do, and I'll chime in on any of Michelle's stuff that might be relevant to me.
So does Cedar Rapids have any questions?
Oh yeah, good question. No?
No, it's going. Mm-mm.
No? All right. Hi guys.
They're good.
All right, I'll be in the back if you do. I'll let you close my calendar out. No one wants to see.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll flip it out when we get there.
It's over?
Nope. Michelle's up now.
So now you get me.
Now
So
you get the important stuff.
please. So here's the thing. So this is normally what I would talk about with you on Thursday as part of the workshop, but there's some really good strategies in here. And so piggybacking on what Shane has talked about, I mean, it's all about systems and being able to manage your time. Because, I mean, especially with all of Concept stuff, how many of you feel like there are just not enough minutes in the day to get all of this done and still like have a glass of wine occasionally or wait, no, care for my children, those kind of things. So I put this together and it's a bunch of strategies that may work for you. And there's not one thing in here that just says, this is the way to do it. I'm going to give you probably a dozen different ideas that you can implement that can help you save some time or to make your time more productive. And the first thing is to control your calendar. So did you just die when you saw Shane's calendar? It's awesome though. And it makes so much sense. And I strive to do that, but I still kind of suck at it. So I'm still trying to manage that piece of it. And it's about those priorities. And when Lance talks next on Thursday, when Lance talks, it'll really help you hone in on your why. And that will generally help you put in those family, friends, faith kind of things first so that everything else comes behind. So you're not missing those things. You're not missing the important things. So I found this awesome video that talks about your Google Calendar and all the things that you can do. And Jen was in here earlier with Google Calendar. There's even more that you can see. She's like, oh crap, not more.
Yeah.
So I want to share the video because it just covers everything quicker than I could.
You better get ready to go Google Calendar crazy.
I'm not sure how good this is going to be for Cedar Rapids. I'll send you guys the link.
What's up, socials? Welcome back to Amy TV. It is finally time for us to dig into something I am a die-hard follower of that helps you boost productivity and make your time even more valuable. Today we're going to be talking about how to calendar block or how to leverage time blocking, whatever you want to call it. You can call it one or the other. I call it calendar blocking because I just take my calendar and I put a whole bunch of blocks on it. And it works. I tell you what, if there's anything I've done since the beginning when I really started to navigate the online space and start my own business, that completely changed the game. It was taking tasks off of a to-do list and equating them to time. And that is what this method does for us. So I think it's going to be so useful to you. Clearly, I have been talking about it forever and ever and ever. I feel like I'm going to have to link to this video in every video I've ever made because this is going to actually walk you through how to do it. Before we dig in, if you like the idea of making your time a whole lot more valuable, then we talk about that all the time and you're going to want to subscribe to this channel. I make new videos every Wednesday and Sunday and I'd love to see you for the next one. All right, so I'm going to actually do a little bit of this talk at the computer itself, but first I want to sit here and tell you a couple of guidelines when it comes to calendar blocking. Here's the biggest thing. A task is on a list. A list is good for nothing. I mean, they're nice to have, but until that list is on the calendar and is an appointment, something you are going to show up to do because you've prioritized it, it's not going to happen. So the goal here is for you to take those priorities and turn them into time slots. I mentioned Google Calendar earlier, and that is because it's going to be the easiest thing possible for you to adjust with your changing schedule or your family or boss that are constantly pulling you back and forth, emergencies that happen. Plans change. So for you to do this in like a bullet journal or a written calendar is probably not going to be as versatile or effective, and it's likely just going to drive you absolutely crazy unless you love using pencil and eraser. So I highly recommend that you figure out which digital calendar you would like to use. I love Google Calendar. It is the easiest thing. I can link it to a million other things like I love MindBody. I can schedule my workouts through MindBody and it goes to my Google Calendar. So there's just some seamlessness there that I really appreciate. And so that's why that's the tool for me. But you're definitely going to want to choose what is best for you. If I'm wrong about the written thing, then go to town. But I would definitely consider a digital calendar so you can really move things around as needed. Only when necessary, as needed, okay? We're not moving things around to procrastinate, okay? That the goal is that is not going to happen. Speaking of move things around, the goal here is that you're going to put something on the calendar because you're going to do it at that time. You're going to show up for that appointment, just like it was coffee with somebody else. You wouldn't be like, oh no, let's just put it off, put it off, put it off. If it's a task and it means as much to you as that coffee appointment with a friend because it's going to help you reach a certain goal or at least get you further to get to that goal, then you show up for it. So moving things around should really only happen when there are things that you really can't change that have happened in your schedule. Like I said, emergencies, maybe your kid is sick at school, so suddenly you've lost 4 hours in the afternoon that you would have had on your own, things like that. So keep that in mind as you're scheduling things out. Plans are going to change, but don't let them change so much that calendar blocking doesn't become effective for you because you can just reschedule things whenever you want. It's your time. It's all about what you do with it. Something I personally recommend is using a digital calendar and using multiple colors or using different calendars within that calendar. So I will have everything color-coded depending on what kind of appointment that it is. And I actually will use the different calendar options that are available in Google Calendar. You could really just color code them as much as you want, but I like to use specific different calendars. So like my travel calendar, my mom can subscribe to my travel calendar and she'll know that's completely up to date because I'm looking at it like it's my travel calendar. That's just a calendar preference, and so I thought I'd mention it. A couple of my other calendars include conference calls, public appearances online, leaving the office for a meeting, or leaving the house at all. That's like a bright orange on my calendar, like Amy, put your face on. I have a separate editorial calendar. I have a separate workout calendar. I have a separate calendar just for things I need to know, like, hey, if you want to change your blue apron recipes this week, you better do that on this date, otherwise you're too late. And then there's the calendar we're probably going to talk the most about, and that's called Get Stuff Done. One last guideline is that I also like to batch similar tasks together. Like I said, if I have to leave the house, if I did all this work to get out of the house, then I really want to make the most of that. So if there's multiple coffee appointments that I can have, then great. I'll schedule one for 10 o'clock, one for 11 o'clock, and then that way I'm at the coffee shop waiting for those people to come and knocking them out together, not at the same time, but for me, pretty much at the same time. Another example is maybe I got my hair done one day. How many videos can I film in that day? How many driver's licenses can I renew in that day? Pretty much anything that has to do with your hair and good face. Let's knock it all out in the same day so that tomorrow can be no makeup awesome. All right, so let's get into a typical week of calendar blocking. It's going to be different for everyone. You have different work schedules, you have different life schedules, and that's the whole point, is we can really all use this method if we just take everything we have to do and make it equate to time, which is the ability to actually get things done, is making the time for it. All right, so let's pop over to the computer so you can get an idea of what the heck we're talking about. We're going to talk about calendar blocking. Here we have our blank slate of a calendar. You probably have more things on your calendar than this already, but I like to start fresh because I want you to have this perspective of all of those time slots on that calendar. These are all the moments that are yours, every single one of them. What are you using them for? That's the big question. I'm already subscribed to a few calendars here. I walked you through a few of those and explained them to you, so you'll see them in action in just a minute. And also I have another, external calendar called Holidays in the United States. So you can see today is Mother's Day, and I'm recording this for you to see in real time what is happening. And so now I want to start to put things on this calendar. So what's first? Obviously, we know that there's a big chunk of something missing here, but we're not going to get to that first. You have work, you have school, it takes up a lot of time. That's not where we want to begin. We want to begin first with our morning routine. What are we doing in those early hours of the morning? What time do you want to wake up? What time do you need to wake up? But I would actually argue that your morning routine starts in the evening. And so we're going to come down here and right off the bat, set an appointment for you to go to sleep. So let's say you want to wake up pretty early because you have to be in the office at a certain time and you want to be able to make the most of your morning. You need to plan to go to bed so that you get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So let's start here with
or 5.
Sunday nights. We're going to go to bed at 10 o'clock. And so this is going to go under the Get Stuff Done calendar, unless you prefer to do sort of like a rituals calendar. That's completely up to you. I try to make my calendars are already crazy. I don't need to add more where they are unnecessary. So this just goes in the Get Stuff Done calendar. And we want to make sure that we do it every night. So we need to do this at least, well, we're gonna say daily, because I think you're gonna be able to delete them where they're not going to be the case, but we want them every day. Like, you're probably gonna delete the ones on Friday night and Saturday night because they won't be the case for you, but let's just pretend for now that you're sleeping at 10 p.m. every night. So the next thing would be, okay, well, when is 7 to 8 hours of sleep up? Maybe you want to be waking up at 5:30. So Monday morning, we're going to set that appointment to get up at 5:30. Ready, set, go. And we're going to have this every weekday because I like to sleep in on the weekends, so we already know we're going to take care of that. I like to use these emojis because they're gentle little reminders of what I should be doing at that time. So I'm getting up, I'm washing my face. If you're making coffee, make some coffee. Really just start to figure out how to be awake in that moment. No pressure. Do not give yourself a crazy amount of tasks right when you get out of bed. Just give yourself that time. And there's probably a good chunk of people watching this who are either in school or at a job during the bulk of the day. No matter what your job entails, we want that on the calendar. So let's mark off that work time. I'm going to say this is out of office. My home is my office, so if you want to call your calendar something else, then that's completely up to you. But I'm just trying to outline the amount of time that you have work. And let's just say, again, every weekday. Try and keep it consistent here. And what's another thing? If you have to get out of your home to go to this place, you've got to what? You've got to commute there. So let's say you have a 20-minute commute, and so we're going to add that time here. And again, that's out of your usual office or out of your home, and so we're going to make sure that that is replicated every day. And we're probably going to have to do the same thing down here. So we're not taking any time for granted. The reason we have that there is because it's so important to recognize, even if you live right down the street, make sure you're leaving at a good amount of time. My Google Calendar specifically pings me 10 minutes before every single thing on this calendar. So if I'm supposed to leave the house by 8:30, I'm getting a little notification on my phone at 8:20. And so I know, okay, I walk out the door in the next 10 minutes. And so you're going to give yourself ample time to get to work and clock in on time, whatever the case may be for you. So now we have all of this morning time, which is really important because there's so many things that you can do during that time. One of the things that I like to do is morning pages. So I give myself just a half an hour to just spill my mind out onto paper for 3 whole pages. This is talked about in a book called The Artist's Way. I highly recommend you read it. I'm reading it right now, and it's just fantastic. Such a great way to get in touch with your creativity. And I actually recommend you do that every morning, but your weekends might be a little different. So we're just going to repeat that on the weekdays. The next thing you're going to want to do is get your workout in, which is really, really important, depending on what you do, whether it's running on the treadmill or you run outside or you're doing some sort of workout thing. Maybe your day has to start even earlier because you're trying to hit a 6 a.m. class somewhere. But let's just say that you're doing an in-home workout at this point and it's about 45 minutes long. So let's just say workout DVD or YouTube video, whatever the case is. And I like to have this in a workouts category because then I can track, am I getting my workouts in? Okay, so what we're going to do for this is we're actually going to customize it because I'm only going to do that workout DVD probably 3 times a week. So we're going to take out Tuesday and Thursday.
Did you know that was possible in there?
And we're going to say
where you can do certain days of the
weekly
week.
on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Just found it.
And save. And so now we have those periodic workouts happening. Maybe they're cardio, maybe they're strength training. Maybe you need to do the opposites when you're adding more workouts to your time, but it's completely up to you from there. I don't know about you, but it takes me an hour to get ready for work. So now we need to do that, especially after we work out. Gotta get that shower. So I just usually call this get ready because that could entail a lot of different things. We're going to make this an hour long. We're going to repeat this every weekday and save. So this is great. What do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3.5 hours in those mornings for 5 days a week that we can make use for something else. So we're gonna keep that in mind, but let's go to the evening first and make sure that we take care of what we need to take care of down here. If you're in charge of dinner like me every night, then let's try to get that scheduled on the calendar. Everybody needs to expect to eat at 6:30. So let's just say dinner, and we're gonna say, gets it done, just another appointment sort of around the house. Every weekday, 6:30 to 7, everyone's eating dinner together, or you're just making dinner for yourself. And so you're probably going to need to make that dinner during this period of time, depending on how much time you spend to make dinner. It takes me a little bit longer, even though everyone tells me, oh, this is a half hour, recipe. I'm like, okay, fine, but like I'm slow. So I usually take about an hour to get everything done. And we've got that on the calendar now as well. Well, now I know I want to add at least one more workout to my calendar because I only have 3 for this week. So let's say there is a 9 a.m. spin class that is happening on Saturdays that I want to go to. So I'm going to add that here. Add that to my workout. That's a 9 to 10 o'clock class. And I'll just say we're going to try to go to that every Saturday. Save. So now I'm good with my workouts for the week. So now that we have a lot of those obligations that the average person probably has on their calendar already on the calendar, then we're going to start to add the things we want to get done. So a couple things to take into
She
consideration.
obviously doesn't have children.
You're at work all day. Maybe you do or do not have control over that time period. You may have tasks that go within this period that you need to block out now. You can see how many hours there are for work. If you don't want to take tasks home after work, then how can you work within those time constraints? When are your deadlines, etc.? If you are free on your lunch, that may be something that we're going to be able to take advantage of as well. So really start to get an idea of where the free hours are in this entire week that you have, so you can work on your want tos and your have tos. Let's say you are working a full-time job, but you have a blog on the side. So now we're really looking at, okay, when is the free time to work on this? It looks like if it takes you a little bit longer to write, or if you need some time to film because you're doing a vlog, then that's going to be best served in the evenings after you're done with everything. And you might be a little bit tired at that time, but your options are limited when you're gone for most of the day. So there's a few things that need to happen. You probably need to have a brainstorm session. So if I'm you on Monday morning and I'm trying to plan my editorial for the week, then I'm going to do a brainstorm. And this might be, looking at social activity or reading my emails or, like digging into some questions that I get a lot of the time. And I'm going to sit down for that half hour in the morning and brainstorm some ideas. Because when I get home Monday night, I know that it's time to get ready to create that content. So let's say I'm going to write the 5/17, maybe you write a blog post every Thursday, 5/17 blog post. So now we have the blog post that you need to write, and it's going to be published on 5/17. That's an hour blocked out in the evening. Maybe you've been getting to know someone recently and they say, hey, let's hop on a call and talk about some ideas of how we can work together or maybe cross-promote each other. Well, great. Let them know, hey, you know what? I'm not really available during the day except for lunch. That person's busy during lunch. So you have, hey, I have an 8 o'clock time slot. I'm available. I can give you a call back. And so now we're going to have a call with Joe Smith. And if you want to invite that person with this calendar appointment, you can do that too. It's in the conference calls category. You have a hard stop at 8:30. You're going to get that reminder to commute. Maybe you can have the conversation if you are commuting via car, and you can continue that conversation. It's completely up to you, but you have that half-hour time slot, and so you give that away for a phone call. Earlier that morning, when you're really just enjoying the fact that you're not working out today, you realize, hey, I haven't really been reading a lot lately, so I'm going to spend some time reading a chapter of a book. And so I'll read here, get stuff done. Now you've made a priority of that reading time, and it is scheduled on your calendar. Maybe Tuesday night after dinner, your friend comes over for a glass of wine because you haven't seen each other in a while, and it's great to catch up and have that personal time available. So you schedule time for your friend to come over. They're coming over so we can just add them to the Get Stuff Done calendar, and it's probably going to take a while. Maybe you've been thinking you need to spend some more time finding opportunities to monetize your blog. And
I like how you can drive the time
do that, but
to extend it
some
instead of having to go in and
help
edit.
with that. So on Wednesday morning, you sit down for a little bit of research. Research that's going to help you find people that you would potentially want to reach out to, but you just need to come up with that list, come up with the people that would be the best contacts, get a feel for what they're doing, how do they hang out online, how you might be able to get in best touch with them. Just really start that research. And so we're going to do that as Get Stuff Done. And that's going to roll into Thursday as well, because you know that you're going to want to actually take action on it very soon. So you go ahead and schedule that ahead, research time. And Thursday morning, let's get some more of that reading in, because that's helping us get smarter at everything that we're doing. On Friday morning, maybe you want to have a coffee with someone and that happens to be close to your work. We move the commute up a little bit and throw a coffee into that place down the street with Angela, and we're going to have coffee with her and then rush off to work just after a couple of minutes. But you get some time in with somebody who might be helping you with your current work or with an idea that you have or something along those lines. But you make that time when you're actually able to leave the house just a little bit earlier than usual. Based on the research that you've been doing, you need to do a little bit of outreach. So you spend your evenings maybe not sending right away, but creating the outreach that you're going to do. So whether you're drafting emails or trying to set up a phone call with someone and starting that initial outreach to those people that are hopefully either going to help you monetize your blog or connect you with people that could potentially help you monetize your blog. You're making an effort to connect with people, but that is going under Get Stuff Done, because it might be a lot of just prep on your end and not actual outreach. So let's save that time, and we're going to give you a little bit of extra time here. And since you research more the next day, we're going to save some more time for outreach in the evenings. On Saturday, after you commute back from your spin class, we're going to now, kind of get ready to go, because we want to make the most of this time on the weekends, because we're really trying to get things going with our online presence, with our blog. And so Get Stuff Done, we can get real pretty real quick. And maybe you want to make a few videos to come out the following week. And so we're going to mark off some time for some vlogging, and really going to need a lot of time, because you want to get 2 videos made and you want to spend as much time as you can batch recording those 2 videos. And so we really give ourselves plenty of time, because it can take some time to record a pretty good video. And so we want to give ourselves at least a couple of hours. So now we have quite a few tasks that are on our list, things that we wanted to get done, things that were on our list, like getting our workouts in, doing some reading, making sure that we're creating content, brainstorming what that content would be, researching ways to continue to monetize and scale the things we want to do. The important things are really on the calendar, which is great, because now you see where you have flexibility in everything else. Again, don't forget your lunches. How can you leverage this time to be able to meet with somebody or do more of that brainstorming that's taking longer than it should have? Maybe time just got crunched and we had to move things all together and move them around. Don't be afraid to do that. Just remember that the goal is not to stretch yourself and give you unrealistic appointments. It's to give you constraints that make the most sense. Is that brainstorming time not going to be best served for a half an hour? Can you not get focused in that amount of time? That's fine. Then maybe it's not going to work in the morning. It needs to be an hour in the afternoon when you're really motivated. It's completely up to you, but remember that rescheduling, if you're doing the same rescheduling all the time, it's not working, and you shouldn't be doing it that way in the first place. So just keep that in mind as you are using up these blocks. And then also, if you are having a list of tasks that need to get done throughout your workday, we're just doing the same process, but within that block of time that you've given yourself during that work break. And the cool thing is that when you look at this white space, you can say, okay, is there more I can do? Is there more I need to add? But also, is it just time that I can just chill? Like, can I just watch Netflix and be so happy that I gave myself that time? And we're just going to call this Get Stuff Done, because it is your recuperation time. And this is going to be when you get ready for bed. Maybe you're taking a book to bed with you after you wash your face and just let yourself read a few pages so you will fall asleep by 10 p.m. This is really important for you to really block out so you can see the vision on that. It's okay to have want-tos and relax time on the calendar. Making the time for it will make you feel even more happy about it. And just having, date night on Friday and having it on the calendar and inviting your significant other to do that with you is a great idea. And you're probably not going to have this dinner here unless you're cooking for your kids and then bailing on them to go watch a movie with your significant other. You really need to look at all these moving parts and say, how do I make this work for me? It's not about every single block of time being a thing that has to get done. It's about it all being things that you want to do the thing that you want to do on the grand scale. How are you doing that? How are you blocking that time out? I want to throw in a quick bonus tip that I brought up recently, and that's these awesome time cubes that are on Amazon. They're really just kitchen timers. If you don't like these, if you don't like the price of these or something like that, and you want to get something different, I highly recommend them. Don't use your phone for your timer all the time because you get really distracted and not get anything done. But these are great when you're saying, okay, I have that 1 hour block on my calendar that I need to apply for jobs. You set the 60-minute timer and you go. And it's such a great way to stay in the zone and actually stick with that time blocking strategy. Always remember to reschedule the things that don't work out. I had like 3 things on my calendar today that I had blocked out, but because of some unforeseen, really long, drawn out task that I thought I did a justice on the calendar for, I thought, this is only gonna take 4 hours. And it took a lot longer than 4 hours, which is really depressing, but it happens. So make sure you don't lose track of the things that you've blocked time for, just move them around, reschedule them to another time. Find the next block of time that's got a little bit of wiggle room in it, and it makes sense for it to be at that moment, and then reschedule it when you're ready.
Okay. So what were your favorite tips in there? Because I had so many that I like to use. Scheduling everything. Well, and just chunking it out. And I think it's hard for us because we have so much flexibility that we want to keep things open and loose. But until you put it on a calendar, then it doesn't become real. It's like, oh, well, I'll have this time that I'm going to do marketing. Well, what actually goes in there? You know, what kind of marketing are you doing? I'm doing my Facebook post for the month. I'm doing, my blog post for the month, or I'm doing my videos. What other tips did you see that you liked?
I like the last one, the timer.
The timer, and not using your phone. Because how many times you get sucked in as soon as you look at that for just a minute. I don't know who you are, but I'm going to talk to you later. I like the timer. Did you see anything else you liked in there? I'll give you some of mine. The different calendars just seems like a no-brainer. And then having the different calendars that you share with different people, I think is really nice. That drive time. How often do you forget your drive time? Like, yep, I've got an 8:30 class, so I've got 8:30 on my calendar, but yet I don't have that 8 o'clock, that I have to commute. And if it is that time of day, how much longer is it going to take you to get to a location like this? An extra 10 minutes, or it's snowy, so it's going to take an extra 35.
I think if you put it on there too, because I am notorious for running late. And so I think if you put your workout on your calendar, whatever it is, and it dings that I think it would become more of a habit.
It's that reminder. Well, the
it's doing it every time you're supposed to,
yeah.
go to the gym.
Yeah, the pings was a good one for me too, because I get those for the things that are on my calendar. It's like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be working on that. Especially if you're doing tasks in a set amount of time. It's like going into the office, I'm going to spend these 3 hours on whatever it is. If it's dinging me all the time, reminding me where I need to be, that I don't get distracted. You're sucked into social media. Adding calendars is always a good one. We did that in the Google Apps class. You can add the training calendar. You can add your showing time calendar, can go right on there. And when you add your showing time calendar, you can decide if you want to see the showings that are scheduled for your listings or the showings that you have scheduled. So you can add it either way. It's a preference. And so then it'll automatically go right to your Google Calendar. Then it's probably a good idea to go back in and add those drive times, at least, for the first one.
Does that work with Outlook too?
Don't use Outlook.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I
I
don't,
just have everything in Outlook.
in Outlook,
Yeah.
I know that you can add it to a Google Calendar. Does it go to Outlook?
I don't know. I think so as far as showing time goes. I was just gonna say, I know it will take a little time. Over time, I would convert to. Or
That's what I'm in the middle of doing that right now.
Yeah.
too.
This is my Outlook.
Yeah, Jen's going cold turkey almost.
Yeah, I mean, I like.
Can I
this
see
Outlook.
Karen?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
She's
there's
been spending a lot of time working on
Yeah,
it.
and if you don't wanna go like Jen with full 30, you can just transition.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because
so.
most platforms are built on Google, you're likely to be a lot easier after you switch to Google.
That's an Outlook.
So what is Outlook? Because I just have been using
This is my Apple world.
calendar.
Outlook is just Microsoft.
Yeah, the Microsoft version.
For,
Okay,
it's competitor of Google.
okay.
And then so the training calendar, for example, Concepts is built on Google, so if you have your Concepts email attached, all the trainings Michelle does in school are automatically on your calendar.
So I
they're
can,
color.
I just pulled my Google up right now. And on my phone in Google, my personal stuff that is in my Apple calendar,
Mm-hmm.
it shows up on my phone in Google, but it doesn't on here. So I don't know if there's a way for me to sync that.
Yes, you can sync both your phone and your desktop separately, so you have to go into the settings and make sure your calendars are connected.
Okay.
And sometimes it takes a little bit of time to do that, to get them all
Yeah.
completely
And that's what I
connected.
say, it's a process, you
It is.
gotta, do it slowly.
The timer, that was one of the things I liked. Calendar invites. So when you have an appointment with a client, are you sending them a calendar invite? No. Should we?
Yes.
Maybe.
Because if they're like, oh, no, it was 4:30, no, it says right here it was 4.
What do you do for showings?
Same
I
thing.
had this happen over the weekend. There was a showing between 2 and 3, and I get a text from the agent, it's there, and he goes, "Well, I just surprised Mr. and Mrs. Seller. They thought it was at 2:30." Blah blah blah.
Yeah. For showings itself,
I mean, you should hope that they.
you just hope that they remember, but for your personal appointments, when you're having showings and stuff, I would
Yeah.
invite, and that goes back to what I said earlier about these guys. They invite me to wherever I need to be, or actually they tell me that they don't invite me. And then I actually had one more tip I was gonna say before I left.
Okay.
Who has Apple or Droid?
Apple.
Oh, Apple, I can't help you. But, so with Droid, and so part of me getting up early is I can do, maybe Apple has this, I don't know, I'm IE literate. But Droid has it so you can pre-send text. So I can, like, if I get up at 3:15, I can set up a series of texts that go out whenever I want.
Like at 8 a.m. It's logical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same thing on
Like at
email. Email, you can
normal
do the same thing,
times.
But text is, I don't know.
I think iPhone may have it.
There might be an add-on.
Check the App Store.
Right, it might be an app, but I, like right now, I think, let me check. I think I got one set up to go up for like 2 weeks. No, tomorrow. I got one I set this up last week to be sent tomorrow at 8:17. And I do random times so it looks real. So, here,
Keep it random.
7:38.
But here's what I'm wondering, if you sync that showing time calendar to have like your showings, that you couldn't invite your homeowner to that.
How do you do?
You could.
I don't know that.
Because I think you can.
You can go into your showing time app and I can save that to my Google Calendar.
Yeah, you have to go into the desktop version, actually log into showing time, and then then we'll set up a calendar. We'll do it after. We'll do it right after class, because we're not gonna run all the way to 3. So I'll help you set that up.
Okay.
So is this the calendar that's with Remax Concepts that I log into my email? Is this the calendar I can use to edit? Like,
Yeah.
it's checked and
Yep.
it's checked. So what, like on the one that you showed, she had all her different types of things that she was doing every day here, like workout, blah, 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 right here under her calendars.
Yep, so you can add, let's see. It's under the 3 dots. You can change all the colors in there. And then you can add other calendars. So then you can create calendars. So you can create new calendar.
And then she's got one for her schedule, for her exercising, for all of those.
Oh, that's.
But mostly what she was showing was they were still under that main calendar.
Yeah.
She was just changing the color.
Okay.
So she's just set up colors to help her remember.
That's what mine was.
But it's still all on one calendar.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's two different ideas as to, the only time you would probably separate a calendar is if there's something specific that you don't always want to look at, or if that's something specific that you're sharing with other people, but you don't want to share all the rest of it.
Okay.
And then grouping tasks together is always really good too. You know, she talked about, you know, days when you have good hair and good face doing all of your videos. But if you think about it, just being able to, when you're out and about, it's like, well, I need to set up my open house signs the day before, or I need to go, you know, pick up a lockbox. What can I do on that side of town instead of having to drive back and forth? You know, my tailor, my shoe repair, things we do all the time now, right?
Well, actually, I'm getting my hair done on Friday, so it's like.
Yeah, what's in that area that I can also get done to save that time for myself. So it's just something to think about that way. I'm gonna skip over this one. This one's the Eat Your Frog First. So it just talks about, you got a face like, I think my husband just had frog legs the other day, and he was like, that sounds disgusting. Yeah, at Bubba's, does Bubba's do frog legs, I think?
Yeah.
Tastes like chicken, that's all I heard. But it's rating priorities as to the tasks that you need to get done. And I think many of you do that very naturally. But again, when we have Lance talk on Thursday, it may help you really sort those things out a little bit. You know, what are those most important things? What things can be delegated? Because you need to find out, especially as you're tracking everything, what is your hourly rate? So what are the things that aren't worth your hourly rate? You know, and those are the things that you can systemize. You know, what can a teenager do for you over the summer? What can Creative Concepts do for you? One of the things I did that felt like such a luxury or such a strange thing is I have somebody come in once a month and clean for me. I hate cleaning toilets, and I will waste way more time to avoid cleaning a toilet than I should. So I have somebody who does that just once a month, and the rest of the house stays decently clean the rest of it. So, I mean, what are those things? Now, if you love cleaning your house, and I think Lance talks about mowing his lawn, he loves mowing his lawn. So he does it, even though his time is more valuable, because there's joy in that. I like this quote a lot. Instead of saying, I don't have time, try saying it's not a priority and see how that feels. You know, all of those things, like exercising, hardest thing to get done, right? Still struggle with that. I don't have time to exercise. Well, it's not a priority. So just think about what those priorities are. One of the things Tom Ferry talks about is it's called the hour of power. And he said, if you don't work in your business reaching out to people for 1 hour a day, you didn't go to work that day. Because prospecting is so important. You know, those business building activities where you're touching people one-on-one. So making sure to incorporate that every single day into your business and scheduling for that. Jared James has how to gain confidence is practice, go screw up, start tracking your victories, and get help. Get help where you need it, but just get out there and do it. He spoke at R4. He was really fun too.
Oh, where?
At R4 in Las Vegas. He was one of the breakout speakers. We sat in the front row. It was kind of fun. We were very close. And having your schedule and time blocking really helps with this, because you can't expect to succeed if you only put in work on the days you feel like it. I mean, some days you have those days where it's like, it's gloomy, it's rainy, it's cold, it's icy. I just want to stay home. And if you really want to succeed, if you really want to bring your business forward this year, you've just got to do it. So that whole Nike slogan, you hate it, but it's like, just do it, for crying out loud. And again, what can somebody else do for you? Putting your kids to work. Shane mentioned having his kids put stamps on. You know, especially if you're doing it by hand, nobody cares if the stamp's a little sideways. They don't. And it starts to instill in them the value of work and what that gets. By the way, your youngest one looks so much like you. He's just
That's
so
what everyone says.
cute.
It's
I mean, the
so
older-
weird. I don't see it.
What?
I don't see it at all, but everyone.
Even in pictures, you don't see it? The older ones do, but the
Yeah.
little ones just like,
Thank you.
so cute. Now you want to creep on her on Facebook, don't you? Check out her kids.
Who?
Her youngest one looks just like her, and he's just so cute. Now, although the girl talked about lists, or that they're not anything until they hit your calendar, I think there is some value in creating some lists, and those lists do need to make it over to your calendar. But sometimes lists end up being kind of a holding pattern. It can be ideas. There are different kinds of lists that you can create, but eventually they need to make it to the calendar to get done. Otherwise, it's just ideas and dreams. And there's a couple of running lists that I like, things that I would like to do or ideas, because as you're building your business, there may be things that you hear or classes that you go to, and you're looking at your business plan and you're saying, I would like to incorporate that. Today is not the day. So I would like to incorporate that in a month or 3 months or 6 months or when I reach this goal. So those running lists are great. Things like your grocery list, and I'd suggest doing that in something that you can share. Share that with a significant other who also knows how to go to the grocery store, although he generally spends twice as much money when he goes. But having that list, because I mean, have you ever done the, do a little post-it at home, and is that post-it with you when you get to the grocery store? And then you wander around the store hoping to remember what was on that list because nobody's at home to snap a picture of it and send it to you.
I don't grocery shop anymore. I use an app called Instacart. I pay $9 a month, and I haven't walked into a grocery store in 3 months.
Knowing your time back.
There you go.
All right.
It's the best thing I've ever done. They do Costco,
Where does it go?
Sam's.
all of them?
Yep,
And it's delivered.
they deliver. It's a personal shopper that goes, I haven't gotten bad produce yet. Like,
For $9 a month.
for $9 a month, they could do,
Instacart.
and it's free delivery. You obviously tip them, but to me, it's worth that. It's worth tipping a driver to go to the store.
That's awesome. Well, and
It's been
Hy-Vee,
life changing for me.
yeah, Hy-Vee online, you can do your grocery shopping online as well. They're really promoting their app right now on TV, I've noticed.
What about if you live in the sticks, like I do on Runnels?
Instacart might actually deliver out there because it's an actual personal shopper. It's not.
Maybe, let's check it out.
What's your? I'll send you the app. What's your number?
515.
Well, first tell me your name because I guess I
Jen.
didn't.
Jen Silverthorne.
Okay. Well, we can do this after.
Okay.
You're not done.
I got a couple more things. But the other thought is you can also do the curb pickup. So many of the stores, Target, how many hours can you get sucked into Target?
I'm just running to get bad produce.
I haven't yet.
Yeah.
But-
Even on Target or like Walmart. Or
Yeah, Walmart,
maybe-
Sam's Club, they're usually pretty good because bad reviews will kill that for them. But it's hard to know what's actually in store at that time if it looks good or not. So, I mean, it's something that maybe the bulk items that you can even have sent to you. I know I use,
Like Costco, 100%. I won't step foot in there. I
yeah,
don't get produce from Costco though. So.
oh, I get produce from Sam's all the time. But like bulky items, like toilet paper that you can't get now and paper towels and all that, I've sent to the house. There's no reason for me to go
Get
all the way to the back of the store to pick those up, to wander around for an extra hour when I could just have it sent.
No.
They won't let you do alcohol that way. And you also can't use the self-scan app for alcohol, so that kind of bums me out.
Yeah, unfortunately, we haven't got there yet. I don't know if they ever will. I think it's kind of.
But you can buy it, you can buy wine online and have it delivered to your house, but I think somebody has to sign for it.
Okay, that's what I was like, if I
go to Walmart and do curbside pickup and, you know, can they put my wine in there? Not sure. Maybe.
I don't know about the curbside. I know they
Maybe
want to order.
curbside because they could always check your ID.
Mhm.
I don't know. Errands, so that goes with that, you know, are there things across town that you don't need very often that you don't want to make a special trip for? So if you're going to your hairdresser, you know, your favorite cupcake shop is right there. Oh no, you're not doing cupcakes right now. Not till when? After when?
Easter. August.
August, not till after August. And then a list of calls or notes. So if you are subscribing to Matt's way of connecting with people was writing all those notes, carrying a batch of notes and stamps or having them pre-stamped. And as you're sitting in the line to pick up kids, or you know you're on the field waiting for whatever, you're able to go through, write those notes, and they're ready to go. And always have stamps ready. I know it's such a pain, but buy a whole roll at a time.
Well, Matt or Shane was just saying you can go to the post office and get a prepaid postal permit.
You can, and actually, you can do it online as well.
You can?
Yep, there's an online way to do it. And if you're doing bulk mail, apparently, well, you got a tour of the second floor here. We've got like a bulk mail thingy. Like,
Yeah, but I'm not coming over here to do that.
oh, okay, all right, sorry. I'm just saying,
I know.
I did not know that we had such a thing, but we do. The other little tip, I've got several tips that may or may not work for you, is if there are things that you carry places all the time, to have duplicates. So if your kids are in soccer, keep a bag with just soccer. If you go to the gym, keep gym clothes in there. And those are different shoes than what you wear when you're at home, so that your bag is always ready to go. It's always in your car. If you are volunteering and there are files or things that you need to take for that consistently, have a bag ready so that you're not constantly unpacking and repacking to go to your next appointment. Be sure to utilize your out of office message. I'm super bad at this one too, unless I'm going to be gone for an extended amount of time. But if you have a day where you're out showing, take just a couple of seconds and put on your out of office. Hey, I'm out showing today. I will get back to you as soon as I have a moment to return your call. You know, I am working with clients to find their dream home today, whatever that looks like, so that if someone does reach out to you, they don't think that you're ignoring them. They know that you're in an appointment with another client. And it also reinforces the idea that you are a professional, busy agent, that they're not your only client. Manage your social media time, and that's where that's a good idea to use that timer. You know, how much time do you need to be in there? Manage your notifications. So, you know, that little thing that pops up on your phone all the time. Do you need to know every time somebody posts something? Does it need to ding on your phone? Probably not. It can be very freeing to just go in and check that periodically instead of every time there's a ding. Every time there's a ding, I gotta see what's going on. And to use your friend lists. So do you know that about friend lists in Facebook? Not groups, but lists.
Someone talked about it on the first day.
Yeah.
Going
Possibly.
and making an SOI group on
Yes,
Facebook.
yes. So you can actually go in and create lists rather than groups, because for a group, you have to invite somebody to it and they have to agree to join it. That's not what that is. A friend list just says, here's a group of people, and if I click on that, I'm only going to see posts from those people. So that way you can interact with your SOI instead of, you know, the crazy cousin that likes to post cat videos and inappropriate political ads or something. You can just go through and connect with people, and you can also target that group as well when you've got that friend list created. This is a great book if you've never read it. It's called The Miracle Morning. And then there's also, he's done a secondary, well, several. He does The Miracle Morning for real estate agents as well. And it all talks about the morning routine, how you can get going, get things done, and how much you can accomplish before 8 in the morning. And my daughter was doing that for a while, my older one, with her little one, and she was amazed at how much she could get done. But it is, again, getting into the routine of getting up a little bit earlier. So if you are doing a workout, sometimes that's the only time that you have is just to get up a little bit earlier. Meal prep is a big one. And with so many people eating healthier, do you do any meal prep, Jen?
Kind of.
Kind of?
Only because Wendy used to do it on Sundays. Where are we on Sundays?
Mhm.
So
It doesn't have to be Sunday. Do it on a Tuesday afternoon.
yeah, but I've got my go-to things. that
Yeah.
I'm able to grab and just go.
Mm-hmm. Meal prep is really great, even if you're not, doing it for health reasons. Gosh, what was it? You can find them on Pinterest now all the time. But years ago, I had a book called 30 Days of Meals. And so it was like a solid day of cooking. But you made 30 meals, and for our family of 4, it was perfect. And that way I knew if I was working late, whatever, or even if I wasn't, I had a meal ready that I could grab out of the freezer and cook, and we'd be ready to go. And it does a couple things because it forces you to create your menu. And so it forces you to create your grocery list, because how many times a week are you stopping at the grocery store? Too many? It's crazy. It's like, oh, I want to make this, but I don't have this. So now I have to stop for this. And I mean, it's at least 30 minutes, sometimes 60. But if you're doing that repeatedly, how could you be better spending that time had you just done one quick stop? Or just have it delivered to your house and then you don't have to worry about it. This one I like. This is a website to check out. It's called conversionminded.com, and they've got a free time block template that's in there. It's really for those who aren't using an electronic calendar, but I think they've got an electronic one too. But set your goals, because if you don't have a goal, it really doesn't matter what you do, right? And so it's really important to know what are your have to do's. What do I have to do to accomplish the goal that I'm trying to get? And then Darren Hardy also has his Sunday planning system, which is a once a week planner so that you can decide for the week, what is it that I want to do? And his is designed for like a Sunday evening, but if you chose poorly or just hit a bad luck of the draw and had a bad open house, that's a good time that you can plan that for the next week as well. One of the biggest things I can say, be where you are, otherwise you will miss your life. It's a Buddha quote. And what that's about is putting down your phone, being in the moment, not worrying so much about, I need to post this, I need to do this, I need to check my email because it might be a client while I'm at the soccer field. Being in the moment with your kids, with your family, with your spouse, with your significant other, just being there, because we are less productive when we multitask. And I know that seems counterintuitive because we're like, well, I can do this and this at the same time, but you're not doing either one really well. You might be okay with them, but not doing them really well. So be in the moment. And I'm going to skip that.
The one commodity that is most.
There we go. That's what I got. Ideas, anything you do that can save time, that can work.
That's a one-time saver.
What's your one-time saver?
The grocery delivery.
I think that's awesome. And especially because you can do it from Costco and Sam's Club.
Those are my biggest ones.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So you can
I do make probably one run a week, but